Do 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 do. I'm a bit of a history buff. Um, some people remember all the dates and stuff. The dates really aren't that important. What's important is knowing the flow of the river. Some people can remember where every stone and twig is in the flow of the river, i.e. specific points in time. Some people are only interested in knowing how the river flows and how deep it is and how to navigate the waters. This video is absolutely, because I hate the topic of poly and ticks, which I think is funny. People told me that word means humorously many ticks or many blood-sucking insects, which is accurate, and I'm not at all interested in that fact. Interesting, humanity, just like photography, absolutely everything mirrors everything else in cosmic mechanics, including human nature. And we've actually reached a point where the roads are diverging radically. We're reaching actually peak saturation on polarization. I'd actually like to make a quick reference to photography. All pictures are extremely good in that they either pull you in or they push you away, like a horrible war picture. You know, it's just very gruesome, but it moves you. It doesn't have to move you in like something really, you know, curvaceous and something that's, you know, steams up your shirt. You know, that's one type of movement. Another one could be, you know, a really amazing picture, amazing in a horrible way, that actually, you know, repulses you, yet you can't forget it, or a picture that stops you. And everything in human motions is actually mimicked in field theory. Either pulls you in, or it stops you, or it pushes you away. The same thing we're actually seeing now all throughout history, where, you know, there was a turning point when basically everybody can agree, yeah, that's the point when the whole world changed. Right now is exactly like every turning point all throughout history where the course of human history changed. And the one thing that you don't hear historians, there might be a historian out there that has mentioned this, where the world changed, it could be for the worse or for the better, is that when there was massive polarization between society, between members of society, and it could just be, it doesn't have to be one country, it could actually be the world at large. If we actually roll the clock back to, say, the 50s or the 60s, people, and of course there's always been inequality in the world, you know, between various peoples. I mean, I'm not denying that, you know, like where people were not treated fairly. Everybody knows this is the case. I'm not saying that we were all kumbaya, and there's never going to be a point in time where humanity's like that. People that actually wish and try to build utopias are fools, because human beings are never going to be like that. If everybody lived to be 1,000 years old and had 3 kids and no taxes and no bills and could do whatever they wanted, there would still be enormous strife, because someone would like covet somebody else's wife because they're more beautiful or younger, or, you know, there's never going to be that. But let's say in the 50s, in the 60s, the United States, I can't speak for other countries since I know a lot more than most Americans do on the history of other countries, but I mean, I'm not going to even pretend to feign wisdom as far as the histories of other countries' cultures. But in America, like in the 50s and the 60s, people didn't care which side you were on, one or the other. This two-party system, of course, is bad, but it's way more bad now than it's ever been, because in the 50s and the 60s, even though you could point out differences, by and large, you know, the flow of the stream, if you will, was that everybody was an American first, and then they were XYZ subculture, you know, ethnicity, or, you know, whatever they're like. I'm into cars and motorcycles, this person would be into opera, whatever. You know, you actually, but people were always first Americans. So there was this collective wholeness, a singularity of paramount societal consciousness, and that people worked together. I mean, there are still enormous amounts of strife, but the point I'm actually getting to is that every turning point throughout history of any culture, any society, and anywhere in the world where there was a serious upheaval where everybody agreed that after it happens, like, man, that's when everything changed, is right now. It's where people become hideously polarized. The war and of the Vietnam conflict is one of them. There's a lot of different ones throughout American history. Obviously, 1770s, that was before America existed or as was being established. But just incredible polarization. And this has to be a foreshadow. I'm not actually saying doom and gloom on anything. This kind of has to be a foreshadow of a major schism occurring. And there is an energy that's built up in a schism that really just about can't be tamped down, unfortunately. Whereas that society gets so polarized that the bridge between both is of such an energy potential. And I hope that's not the case, but history says it always is the case. When people become that polarized, there is an energy between that schism of polarity that alas has to be dissipated. It's kind of like, winding up a string as far as winding up a spring as far as you could wind it, and then keep winding it, and then watch stuff. I hope that doesn't occur, but history says it always does. So there's what we hope for, and there's what history says always can and will happen. I hope that doesn't happen, but I want to hear your thoughts on this. But looking across the landscape, there's way too much division, way too much polarization. Like there's no, as well as I do, I don't care what side anybody's on. I'm not on anybody's side. I really am not on anybody's side. There's just way too much polarization. And I'm not talking about all the lies that are broadcast on the television set, and as well as I do that it's a lot of lies, but there's just way too much polarization going on out there. People are way too nasty to each other, which is not right. People are way too cliquish. Everybody's living in a nutshell and an echo chamber, looking for others to agree with them. They only they'll all congregate into little enclaves and, other people that agree with them. That's one of the serious downfalls of the internet. Is that doesn't matter what somebody is, there's a specific forum out there where everybody else kind of thinks like you do. And you all get together and you engage in self-reinforcing delusions with other people that, believe the same sort of things that you do. I don't care what anybody believes. That creates a problem. People don't communicate anymore. Ironically enough, and it's not really that ironic, people are more connected now than they ever have been. You could FaceTime with people on the other side of the earth. Back in the day, we had to write letters, You can make a phone call, but it costs $1 billion a minute. So people now are way more connected than they've ever been, but they're infinitely more separated than they've ever been. Yeah, we're connected through a false medium that creates, fosters, and fuels human polarization. You tell me what you think on this. You say, you're crazy, you Uncle Keen. You're just, you're just a bald, fat, tattooed monkey. That's not what's going on. Really? Well, I read every comment, so you tell me what you think. By the way, this video is not monetized. I'm not saying one thing or the other. All I'm doing is looking out at the landscape like someone standing on the edge of a cliff looking out at the valley below And I can see what's going on. There's way too much polarization. If you think that there's not an enormous amount of polarization where everybody in society has polarized themselves like a magnet, then you've either been deaf, blind, or had your head stuck in the sand. But since I read every comment, as I say again, I'd like to know what you think about it. Yeah? Thanks for watching. Goodbye. Polarization in human beings is not a good thing. No. Goodbye.